I closed on a single family home in Colorado last Friday, and I'm now demoing the place. It's demo day! Why I got into flipping homes and what I learned so far, that's what we'll talk about today. I'm Kata. Welcome to Net Zero Tech. When there are half a dozen shows on HGTV dealing with flips, this is something the masses believe is their way to get rich. If you're smart, you will run to some place the masses are not. This is a comment I got on a previous fix and flip video. I think it's a great comment. I'm all for anti-cyclical investing. I've invested in ETFs since 2013 with a long-term buy and hold strategy, and all of it served me really well. With the fix and flip, I'm neither trying to run from the masses nor trying to ride a wave. For me, it's simply a way to work independently, create value, and support my family. You can call it not smart, and from a financial standpoint, I would partially agree, as I'm not fully harvesting the fruits of my area of expertise. You can call it any way you'd like. For me, it's a deliberate choice for freedom and power over my own life. I also want to do a net zero flips. However, there are some challenges involved. I think for a true fix and flip in the US without net zero or other specialties, there are two types. One, the property is down to the bones and uninhabitable. Two, it hasn't been upgraded for quite a while. And that means we're talking decades. Number one, I looked at houses that were gutted. I looked at houses that had major structural issues. And I finally went with number two. The house that I bought was built in the 90s. The previous owner lived in it for 2.5 decades. Except for the roof and the heating system, the building hasn't really been upgraded for a decade. So what have I learned so far? Well, I was reassured of a few things in flipping. The fees and interest rates are a big chunk, often about 10%. I'll let you know the exact breakdown once I've sold the house. But if you have the cash to flip high-end, you could also do long-term buy and hold with 80% on the global stock market, diversified over asset classes, assets, geographies, and cap sizes. Right? So there is something to having a passion for this, no matter what price range you are talking about. I looked into wholesale properties, and I'd like to look into auctions if I can convince my current lender, or if I find a lender that's up for it. This turned out to be a listed property, as my realtor found a great fit. It is a single family home. It has about 1,800 square feet with 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. We're going for the open concept for the kitchen and the living room. One of the things I loved so far is working with so many women, frankly. I've always worked in male-dominated fields, and yes, most of the contractors are men, but guess who does most of everything else? Women. The realtor, the loan officer, the title company representative, the insurance representative, and so on. Women. If you're watching, those chances are you're a man, so don't get me wrong, men are awesome. But I really enjoyed working with women for a change. Another thing I learned was that the properties are sometimes listed a bit on the optimistic side. I started looking for properties a little over a month before closing on this property. There were some interesting things looked into. Maybe it's the German culture I grew up with, but if they say cosmetic upgrades, I expect cosmetic upgrades and not the entire floor crooked with major structural issues, like one of the properties I looked at that I drove over an hour for to see it. Another thing to watch out for in flipping is not overspending and not getting emotionally attached to the property. If you are thinking about getting into flipping as a main job, you need to stay profitable. And the way to do that is to understand the numbers. There are 3 levers in a flip: purchasing at or below the initial value, maximizing value add within the budget, and selling above or at the after repair value. For a flip case, you should start at the end, like in most things, the after repair value, and you work your way backwards to the possible purchase price after removing repair budget, estimate, and your desired profit margin. So how do you determine the after repair value? Unless you have very similar comps, in which case you might be in a cookie cutter neighborhood. It is very much an art. The major criteria for comps are proximity, how close is it to your property or your property of interest, and this goes to neighborhood, street, even block if possible. Timing. How recently has the property or the comp been sold? My rule of thumb is that it shouldn't have been sold more than 3 months ago, but it depends on if you find properties that are close enough in the other criteria. 3. Size, square footage, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. In Corrado, I also look at how many garages it has, as there is hail and storms, and families typically have 2 cars. Another thing to be mindful of when flipping houses is choosing the right GC, general contractor. You could be it yourself, and that could save you 10%. However, I recommend having the right team in place of subcontractors and having experience to know how long things take and what to be careful with. If you choose an external GC, there's this rule of thumb of getting 3 quotes and choosing the middle one, because the upper one sometimes a bit on the pricey end, which narrows down your profit margin. The lower one could try to cut corners and not deliver on quality, impairing the after repair value, and the middle one could deliver the right quality for the right price. But it doesn't always have to be that way. In my case, I wasn't sure, and I guess the lower one is a little bit of a risky one. If they have really good reviews, it might be the right choice. You just don't know. Thank you very much for watching. This was a little bit different than my usual videos on net zero tech, especially on sustainable housing and heating and cooling. Let me know in the comments below. Share, subscribe, like, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.